All right, guys, I've got over here. This is the Ozone 46 from Osprey, and today we're going to be dealing with what I thought was one of the negatives of this pack, which is the pulls for the zippers. As you can see, are just thread, and while they feel really good to pull, the problem comes in when you want to lock them together. For security. Now, obviously, this zipper has a hole in it that you can put a lock through, but that was the only zipper that they did it with. These other zippers, if you can see the heads there, they don't have that special little circle to put the lock in. So, obviously, if you locked these together, somebody could just cut the string here. On the other ones. So in order to address that, what we're doing is we're going to be taking this wire. What kind of a wire is this?
Braided picture wire.
Picture wire. The diameter, not sure what diameter it is.
1/16 of an inch.
All right, 1/16 of an inch. We're going to take that and we're going to turn it into a pole by using we're going to connect it with this thing. It's called a ferrule. And this, I think, is is also 1/16, correct?
Correct.
All right, so once you connect them with the ferrule, okay, and there are some other videos that you can find that have done this. Some of them have wire that has a sheath around it. Unfortunately, the zipper heads on this pack, if you were to try to get one with a sheath, the diameter of the actual wire would be so small that you could probably cut it with scissors. Thankfully, this diameter you can't cut with just regular scissors. Someone would have to have something like this, which they probably wouldn't. And so, if we don't have a sheath on this and we connect these two things with the ferrule here, you're going to have these ends that are sticking out. And they're very sharp at the end. So in order to avoid cutting yourself, we're going to just use this tubing here to create over here. This is the finished product here. This sheath that goes around just the top of it where you pull, and that's going to cover the ferrule and the two ends. You'll see as we go on. This is from what?
It's rubber tubing.
Rubber tubing. I'm not sure what exact diameter this is.
It's about 3/16 of an inch.
Okay, so
1/4 of an inch.
Yeah,
3/16 on the inside.
Okay, so 3/16 on the inside. You can experiment with what works. We were lucky because actually this came from the battery from the car, and we thought we'd use it, and it turned out to be perfect. But I guess really any tubing would work. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this. Just going to cut an inch off of this, and we can use a regular pair of scissors. Find it where an inch is, and this doesn't have to be exact, but there you go. Do that, and then we're going to use this ring. This is just the standard key fob ring. To use as a guide for kind of standardizing how big we want the pulls. And so to start, we'll take our ferrule, our wire, and our tubing, and we'll come over here. And first, we'll have to take off the pull here. And I'm only doing it on this head just to show how to do this. Obviously, you don't need it on here if you've already got the appropriate head. So we're just going to thread one side of this into one side of the ferrule. Okay? And then, this is important, you're going to want to put the tubing on the same side that you have the ferrule. Okay? Because if you don't, it's going to be on this side and you won't be able to push it over the ferrule. Okay? So once you've got that, and actually, that's a great point. you need to put the tubing on first, then the ferrule, because you want to be able to connect it like that. So put the other piece in the other end of the ferrule, and sometimes the tip may not be perfectly round, it may be a little bit too flat. This one seems like it would work, but yeah, just got to make sure it doesn't catch. And so once you've got it here like this, right, we're going to want to crimp this. So before we crimp it though, we're going to take our standard ring here and we're going to try to make it as, you know, close as possible. You can make these as big or as small as you want, but this just seemed like an appropriate size. So once you get that, you want to get, you can use different tools, but this is, what is this? This is a
Pliers.
just regular pliers, and you use the inside of there, and then you just get the pliers on there using the back of it. Just push down on it once, crimp it, and then come at it from the other side here and crimp it on this side. All right, and once you've got that done, then you take one of these and cut off the excess about as close as you can.
Wear safety glasses.
Yes, wear safety glasses. As you can see, that just went flying. And we're going to crimp this one. Try to get it as close to the ferrule as possible. All right, so we are end up with this. All right, so here's one important point. These little pieces here, you want to make sure that they're tucked in as close as possible to the wire, because if you don't, when you try to put this sheath over it, they're going to catch on the sheath. Okay, so I've got just some things here that you can use.
Needle nose pliers.
Yeah, needle nose pliers. It's not a science, just, you know, make sure that they're in there like that. So that looks pretty good. All right. When we first did this, the first couple ones, we noticed that it was really hard to get the sheath over here because the width of this is roughly the width of that. And so this is a candle, and we just use this to lubricate it a little bit so it'll slip over that. We decided not to use, like, I don't know what, WD-40 or some other thing, because it'll get all greasy, it'll be all over everything. And also, we decided not to go with an idea to, like, use super glue, because we thought it probably wouldn't even go on. So this was the compromise. And then all you do is you just take the sheath and you feed this whole thing in there like that. And you got to work at it. Sometimes, some of these took us a little bit longer than the others. So if you're doing it and it feels kind of like really difficult at this point, this is the most difficult part of this. You just have to be patient and just kind of keep slowly working it with your thumb. I would not use the needle nose pliers to try to pull it because it looked like it was going to rip. Doesn't really seem like there's any better way to do this. If somebody does come up with something, please leave it in the comment section below and let us know. But this is what we found was most effective. And then once you kind of get it over the hump there, you can pull it over it like that, and you just want to check on the inside there to see. Can't really see very well, but you just want to check in there and make sure that it's cleared that point of the excess of the wires there. And once you've done that, you have your zipper pull, and you're good to go. now, once you've done that on your zippers, you can now, at the very least, put a lock through here and secure them. Clearly, somebody could still cut through the wire, but at least there's some level of deterrence there, and it's certainly much better than just using string. So please leave comments, and thanks for listening.